Okay, good afternoon and welcome to just Daf It, Daf Yevamos. We're learning Yevamos, Daf Kufiyos Ches, 118. We'll start from the Mishnah on the bottom. This is today's Daf. We did make it today's Daf. Kufiyos Ches, Kufiyos Zayin base on the bottom. The Mishnah says, Achaz Omeres Meis, Achaz Omeres Lomes. We're talking about two co-wives, right? The man is married, the husband who is reportedly dead is married to two wives. One says he died, and one says, the Sarah says he didn't die. The one who testifies that he dies, like any other Edisi, she's believed, then she can get remarried and get her ksuva. And the Sarah who says he didn't die, she has no right to get remarried, and she doesn't get her ksuva. One person says, one co-wife says that he died, and one co-wife says that he was killed. One said that he died naturally on his deathbed, natural causes, and one said that someone killed him. Two different conflicting edus. Since elo yinasu, because they contradict each other, we can't believe either one of them. Edus machisha zu zu, so it's not even trey v'trey, it's a chad v'chad. So therefore, they're mevatel each other. None of them are believed. Neither of them can get remarried or get the ksuva. Because both of them agree in a certain respect. They both agree that he's dead, so therefore that's all we need over here. So both of them are believed, and both of them get remarried and get their ksuva. Now here we're talking about a kosher, not the woman herself, a kosher aid. He says one aid says he died, and one aid said they didn't die, and there was no psak based in, like we learned before, to allow to remarry based on the aidus of the one who said he died. Or top of Kufiyot Ches of the Mishnah, Isha Omeres Meis v'Isha Omeres Lo Meis. Not the wife. A different woman says he died. Another woman contradicts her and says he didn't die. They're called contradictory witnesses, and both of their testimonies are thrown out. And none of the wives, or if there's one wife or multiple wives, none of them get remarried. The Gemara says, "Time of the Amra Lo Meis." The reason is because she said Lo Meis. In the first case in our Mishnah, Sarah said Lo Meis. Hayishtika. But if one co-wife said he died and the other one was silent, Tinase. So it implies for a mission, even the second co-wife getting married. Whereas that could be a problem. The only basis that she's getting married, the second co-wife, is based on the testimony of her co-wife, and the co-wife is not nemenes for her other wife because she hates her. So the Gemara says, you're right. Lo meis it's tzrichale. The chiddush is for the case of lo meis, where one woman's in that case, and she said nothing. In fact, that she wouldn't be permitted to marry because the Sarah is not believed to allow her to remarry. Lo meis is really where she denies and says he didn't die. That's the necessity to teach me. We might think really when she says he didn't die, really he did die. She is going to try to ruin it for her co-wife, right? By her saying that he didn't die, so therefore, according to her, the husband is still alive, and her co-wife can't get remarried. She wants to keep her co-wife in iguna. And she's saying, right? She says to herself, you know what? By saying that my husband didn't die, not only, and he's really dead, now my co-wife can't get married, and I also can't get married. Now I can get remarried now, but I don't really care. I just want to take down. I'm dying anyway. No one's going to want to marry me. I'll take down my co-wife with me. That was not plishtim. Shimshon said, that was not plishtim. Right? I'll die. I'll take the plishtim down with me while I'm dying. Kamash Balan, we really believe that according to her, he really didn't die. He didn't die. And she can't get married, and the other woman could get married. Akas Omeres Meis, right? The end of the Mishnah says if one witness, either one kosher witness is contradicting another kosher witness, or one puzzle witness is contradicting another puzzle witness, the eidas are machishas that thrown out. Why doesn't Reb Meir? Sorry, this case Achaz Omeres Meis, Achaz Omeres Nerag. It's on the second place in the Mishnah, where one of the wives testifies he died on a natural death, and one says he was killed. So according to Reb Meir, Reb Meir says that they're contradictory edus, neither is believed. Why is Reb Meir also arguing the first case in Mishnah, where one wife said he died, one wife says he didn't die, right? That's also contradictory. It's better than one wife says he died, and one wife says he didn't die. So a mayor should say like that. We throw out both witnesses. Why is the one who says that he died believed? Amar Lezer Machlokes shnuya, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, he. The Gemara says, Rabbi Elazar admits, you're right, really, Meir would disagree on the first case also. The first case from Mishnah, where there's no machlokes, that just follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Yochanan Amar, I feel the table of Rabbi Meir. He says, no, Rabbi Meir could even agree to the first case. But how I feel Rabbi Meir mode, the whole mace is just saying he didn't die. I mean, that's a pretty general statement. He didn't die. That's not really an edus. It's just, it's just saying. We don't assume people don't die. It's just say it's not considered a kasha, and therefore the reason that's to believe. So even Rabbi Meir could agree with the first case of the Mishnah. Tanan, we learned in the end of the Mishnah, Eid Omer Meis, Eid Omer Lo Meis, Ish Omer Meis, Ish Omer Lo Meis, they're considered contradictory edus. Especially Rabbi Elazar, Stomach, or Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Elazar, who says that it's machlok, Meir argues it in the Reisha. Right, he considers a contradictory edus, so we can say the end is Rabbi Meir, that lo meis is considered a valid edus. It's contradictory testimonies, and therefore we throw it out. According to Yochanan, he admits everyone agrees that lo meis is not considered a valid edus, so why in the Seifa do we consider lo meis to be a valid edus to knock off the first eight? It must be, it's a kasha, it must be probably like Rabbi Elazar. The Mishnah says, a woman goes with her husband to Medinas Hayam. Again, right, we've had this case many times. She says her husband died. She can get remarried and get her ksuva, and she wouldn't have knasos, like I mentioned previous times. The sarasa asura, Sarah is asur because she didn't testify for her co-wife. Haisa bas Yisrael, she's not nemenes for her co-wife. Haisa bas Yisrael, a kohen, tochal betruma. Now, if this man who died was a kohen and these two co-wives were Yisraelim, right? So just like she can't ruin it for the co-wife, she could also. She can't ruin the fact that she's able to eat truma, right? As long as the Kohen is still alive, they don't have children, she could eat based on being married to the Kohen. So the co-wife could still eat truma. The co-wife, no, she can't get remarried, but she also can't eat truma because we suspect that maybe she's telling the truth, the first wife, and therefore it's a suffix d'oraisa, and she can't eat truma. Maybe the husband really did die. Amra meis bali v'achach meis chami. She goes overseas and she says her husband died and then her father-in-law died. So we rely on her words for herself. She can get her ksuva even. The mother-in-law, right, who was married to the father-in-law, she can't get remarried. Again, if both, right, the wife and the mother-in-law are married to Kohanim, right, so she could eat truma, like our Tarfus had in the previous case. She's not believed for her mother-in-law, so the mother-in-law can continue eating truma. Actually, it's really not truma. Rakiv says we have to be choshesh, right? We don't believe her. She's trying to ruin it for her mother-in-law, who she hates, trying to makalkel her, but that's only a suffix, so therefore the suffix, maybe the husband really did die, maybe the father-in-law did die, so therefore she can't eat truma anymore because maybe the Kohen is dead and they didn't have children to perpetuate the marriage that he can continue eating because of mishpachas kuna. The rest of the sricha, you need both cases. You need both cases that Rakiv and Artar argue about, both the case of the Sarah and the mother-in-law. We would say the case of the Sarah, the co-wife, Bakamar Mitarfon, Mishum Sarah the Gufa. The reason Ritarfon discredits basically her edus for the Sarah is because it's a real pain, right? She's losing out by having a co-wife. She loses her husband. She's only able to be with her husband half of the amount of time that she would if she'd be the only one married to. Like the Gemara said, I think on Daf Lamed, the Gemara said you shouldn't marry more than 4 women because each one should have their ona once a month, right? So if you're married to one woman, then she gets ona every week. 4 wives get only once a month. So she loses physical benefit. Aval chamosos. Therefore, she's really lying. She's really trying to makalkel for her Sarah, and therefore we allow her to eat. We assume she's definitely not telling the truth about the Sarah, and therefore the Sarah can continue eating truma. We don't assume the husband is dead. The Sarah mili da'almo. But when it comes to the mother-in-law, testifying the mother-in-law's husband, the father-in-law died, right? The only pain she suffers at the hand of her mother-in-law is that the mother-in-law says bad things about her to her son. That's not so bad. So therefore, you motivate to Rabbi Kiva that we should at least suspect that maybe he's not dead. We just said in the last case that Rabbi Kiva would say that there. In the first case by the Sarah, with the Sarah the Gufa, there's pain, there's physical lack of ona. Sricha, therefore you would admit to Rabbi Tarfon. Now we discredit her entirely, and she could eat truma. Sricha, that's why I say the machlokas in both cases. I'm reading Mashmuel Locha Ritarfon. Locha Valja Ritarfon, she continue eating truma. I'm Rabbi Afan and Amitanina. We also learned this in our Mishnah coming up on Amud Beis. She goes overseas. She says, I had a child with my husband overseas. And she says, my son died, and then my husband died. In which case, right? We didn't know she had a son. We assumed when she went away, she didn't have a son, and she says she has a son, and the son died first, and then her husband dies first. And then Menes, she's a cheska. She was a Menes liibum. Now she's a Menes liibum. She hasn't changed anything, so therefore she's believed. But now she says she had a son, and then her husband died, and then her son died. In which case she's pater minayibum, and she's teres l'shuk. And in Menes, she's not in Menes to matter herself to the shuk. Or choshesh that she has to do yibum. The choshesh and levareh b'chalez them zevemet. We're choshesh. We're not sure if she's telling the truth, so therefore she can't do yibum. So she has to do chalitza, not yibum. Levareh who the choshesh al derei sarah and choshen. It says specifically for her testimony about herself, we're worried about. But for the sarah, we're not choshesh. We don't assume it's suffix the husband who died in order, which order they died. We're not choshesh for someone else, for the sarah, for the co-wife, based on what she says. Shema mina v'pasal karitar phone. The Mishnah on Kuf Yod Ches on the base on the top says Kidesh Achas Mechamish Noshim. A man is Mekadesh 5 ladies. Enya de Eze Kidesh. He wasn't Mekadesh all 5 ladies. He was Mekadesh 1 of 5. He went on speed dating. He did speed dating, and randomly he gave a gift to one of them as a kiddushin. He was joking around. I don't know. Sometimes you joke around the kiddushin. It's a real kiddushin. He doesn't know which one is Makadosh. They all want a ksuba, right? They want a ksuba because we're going to learn Masech Ksubos that even though really ksuba midoraisa only happens min anasul, min ha'eris, and there's a tnai ksuba, they're masak and a ksuba midorabanan for the wife. So she wants a ksuba. She wants a get and a ksuba. Osi kiddush doesn't get l'kolachas va'achas. Everyone agrees he has to give a get to each one of the wives. Miniach ksuba beinayim mistalik. But he's only responsible. Hamotzi michaver alavaraya, Rabbi Tarfon says, right? 5 women, only one of them rightfully deserves a ksuva. So therefore he gives the ksuva in front of them and they fight over it. They're a tarfon called Alam Gavar, whoever wins, whoever beats they out, or maybe it means he puts it in Beis Din, tries to figure out who is the rightful owner. They have to bring proof. Rabbi Kiva Omer Ein Zederach Motzim in the Rashi and Gel Ksuva Chalachas Achas. Rabbi Kiva says no, we penalize him and we make him give a ksuva to everyone. We'll see why. In Ian with Metzio, and what more the Svar Rabbi Akiva. Gazal echad michamesh ve'enu yodei me'eza gazal. Let's say he stole from 5 people. He's a thief. He doesn't know which he stole from Robert, and there was 5 robbers. He doesn't know which robber he stole from. Kol echad amar osi gazal. Each one said he stole from me. Miniach zel b'neim misdalik. You put the amount of money they stole in front of them between them and let them fight over it. They're a tarfon. Rabbi Akiva Omer ein derech motzim in the avera. Yishal kol echad v'echad. He has to pay back each one as a knas. We'll see more in Eon Ben Sion. The Gemara says, Kidesh Kasani, Baal Lo Kasani. It says specifically he was Makadesh them, presumably with a ring, with money, as opposed to Beila, as opposed to being together with them. Gazal Kasani, Lo Kasani. It says specifically Machlokas and Tarvan Akiva, when he stole, it doesn't say when he bought. He bought a Mekach, he bought an iPhone from 1 of 5, and doesn't know who he bought it from. It doesn't say that case. Mani Masisin, who's our Mishnah? Lo Tanakamo, Lo Rishim Elazar. It's neither Tanakamo or Rishim Elazar, the Sanya. Rishim Elazar Omer Lenachlu Ritarfon Rabbi Akiva Al Shakidish Achas Mechamesh Nashim. Ain't no day is a Kiddush. Ritarfon Rabbi Akiva don't have a machlokas when he was Makadesh one. You don't know which one he's Makadesh. Shemniach Ksuva Minim with Tzali. Everyone agrees. Rishim Elazar says in that case that you could just put the Ksuva. Even Rabbi Akiva is Moda. Amayach Nechlu Al Shabal, where he's Boal 5 women, presumably for Kiddushin. We'll see. One of the ways of affecting Kiddushin is through Beila. He doesn't know which one he was Boal. So you have to pay Tarfon. Tarfon says just have to pay 1 ksuva. It's derabanan. The ksuva. He has to actually pay all of them. Rishim Elazar asserts further, a Tarfon Rabbi Akiva didn't have machlokas when you bought from 5 people. You don't know who you bought from. You put the amount that you owe for the iPhone between them. Where you stole from 5 people. Akiva is machmer in that case. He says the machlokas Rabbi Akiva and Tarfon only in 2 cases, Bol and Gazel. And Lakach and Kiddush is no machlokas. Mikal Tana Kamasar Polik. Sounds Tanakama argues says in all four cases, Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Tarva Machlokas Mani. Who's our Mishnah? Our Mishnah has two cases: a case of Kiddush and a case of Guzzle. Tanakama, if our Mishnah follows Tanakama, listen to Kiddush Valakach, say the two cases that are the biggest Kiddush. Maybe it was just Kiddush and just he bought something. That's a Machlokas or Kiva Tarfa. Rishon and Lazar are listening to Baal V'Guzzle. Rishon and Lazar says the Machlokas, Kiva Tarfons, only in a case of Baal V'Guzzle. Our Mishnah says Kiddush V'Guzzle. La'olam, Rabbi Shimon and Lazar. And whereas really our Mishnah does follow Shimon and Lazar. My Kiddush V'Biyah. Kiddush doesn't mean Kiddush with money. He was Makadosh with Biyah. Tana Kiddush Ladicha Koko de Rabbi Akiva. The reason it said in case of Kiddush, where the first case, and not just the case of Guzzle, to tell you the Kiddush of Rabbi Akiva, the Avagav the Yisur, the Rabbanan of it, right? Technically, he owes the Ksuva, the Rabbanan to one of these women, but also is an Isser because we're going to learn that Ksuva is part of the reason you pay a Ksuva is you owe money as chus to be boel, or that's really the reason of the Ksuva. That's why if you're ma'anis, a woman, you owe her to make Ksuva. Because a woman has a fee, a prostitute has a fee. The women have a fee for being together with them. You owe them money, right? A ba'ula, you owe them 100 zuz, $100, and a psula, 200 zuz. So you owe them money. Then in Isra of Gzela, you stole from them. You took something. You were together with them, and you didn't. You owe them money, and you unrightfully did something to them without paying them for that. So the Avagav the Yisur the Rabbanan, that's only the Rabbanan. The Ksuva by an Erison, by Kiddush, is only Rabbanan. Avid Kanis, Rabbi Kiva still has Kones to pay out five Ksuvas. Tana Gazal, Adiachol, the Ritar from Avagav the Yisur the Raisa of it. Presumably we're talking about Gzela, which is the Raisa. Still, Rabbi Tarfon won't be Kones, won't make him pay back all five people. The Mishnah says, Aisha, we're going to discuss this more in Yud Ben Tzia. The Mishnah says, Aisha Ha'achahil, Ba'il Lamdina Sayam. A woman who went, her and her husband, to Medina Sayam, to the Bahamas. They went away. And they had a son with them. We knew they had a son with them. She comes back and says, now when she went away, she was a cheskas p'turim in a yom. They had a son. And then she says, my husband died. And then my son died. Now she's believed because now she was cheskas muteres l'shuk. She's remaining cheskas muteres l'shuk. But she wants to reverse it. She says, first my son died. And then her husband died, and now I'm up for Yibum. She's not believed entirely because she had a cheska. She was not made of Yibum. Now she's making herself made of Yibum. We can't rely on that. However, we are chosher. She might be telling the truth. Therefore, she can't do Yibum, right? But she has to do chalitza. She has to do chalitza in order to matir to the shuk. Let's say she goes overseas and she didn't have a child, and she says, "I had a child with my husband overseas." So when she went away overseas, she was just cheskas omedes liyibam. She was married, but she didn't have any children. So she says, I had a child overseas. My son died, and then my husband died. Ne'emenes, she's believed, right? Because she was a cheskas omedes liyibam. She's still cheskas omedes liyibam. Meiz baili v'akis meiz b'ni. She had a child, and then my husband died, and my son died. And in ne'emenes, we're not entirely convinced that she's truthful over here. However, we do give credence, partial credence to words, and therefore she has the chalitza and she can't do yibam. Nisan liyabam ninas hayam, right? She goes overseas with her husband and she tells, oh, my brother-in-law also was overseas. I'm amazed baili v'achak meiz yivmi, and she says, my husband died, and then my yavam died, or yivmi v'achak baili, or my brother-in-law died first, and then my husband died. Ne'emenes, she's believed because she had a cheskas that she's going to muteres. Because nothing changed, right? Nothing changed. If either of them died, she's muteres l'shuk. And man, right there in the first case, we didn't know that the yavam was there, right? We didn't know the yavam was there. She's the one who brought it in. She said the yavam was also with us. So because we didn't know about the yavam, right? She was muteres l'shuk. Once her husband died, she was muteres l'shuk. She introduced it, so she can cancel that afterwards. But what if we know there's a chazaka that she went with her husband and her yavam? Then I say, yeah, I'm amazed by the rakach meis yivmi rakach baili ain't a menace. She's not a menace in that case. She ain't a menace. Lomer meis yivmi shetinase. She's not neman to say we know there was a yavam. A lot of times the women don't like their brother-in-laws. They don't want to marry them. So therefore, she has no neman to say my husband or yavam died. Shetinase v'lo meisa achosa shkanas lebeisa. There's other cases where people are choshes, they're lying. a woman is not meant to say her sister died, because why does she want to say her sister dies? Now her sister's dead, she can marry her sister's husband. Another, a man can't say his brother died in order to allow him to, maybe he wants to marry his brother's wife. Or concerned he's lying. Well, you can't say your wife died and then go and marry your sister, because we're choshes you're lying to say that your wife died in order to just go marry your sister, because you can't marry a sister when your wife is still alive. The Gemara says, someone who mezaka, zikoi is not shliach. A shliach, basically, I sell someone, go give a get to my wife, and he gives it to the wife. Here, zikoi is on shalo b'fnei the isha. I go over to a different man and I say, accept this get on behalf of the woman. Zachin la'adam shalo b'fnei. There's a concept that if I want to give a present to someone, I can give something he definitely will want. I can give it. I can make the kinyan with somebody else, and through that other person, I'm a zakit to that other person. Automatically, the recipient, the person who's getting the matana, acquires it automatically, even without having to get it in his hands. What about if you want to give a get to your wife that way? Makom yavam, right? You want to give a get to your wife so that she doesn't have to fall in front of the yavam, right? Because if the get happens before the death, so then there's no yibum. Ma, okay, with the sanyale. But still, most women don't want to get married to their brother-in-law. She hates him. It's schusula. It's a schus. The get is a schus for her. And you could do zechia not in front of people. Sometimes actually women do want to be with their brother-in-laws. Chovula. It's not entirely a benefit for her. We can't ascertain it's definitely a benefit for her. So therefore, you can't bring a bad thing to someone against their will, without them participating. He said we have proof of this from our Mishnah. Right? In one of these cases, right, we can't entirely prove that, but we all, right, when it's a case there she's omedes liyibam, one of these cases the subject is whether she's going to have to she's going to do yibam or not, or she's going to teres l'shuk. In one of the cases, we are choshish for her words, so we don't entirely believe her. We don't entirely believe one way or the other. Why is that? We don't believe entirely the Yavam died, or entirely the Yavam didn't die. She has to do chalitza, not yibam. In the cases we don't believe that she's omedes liyibam, not omedes liyibam, meaning the right order, meaning it would have to be that her son died, and then her husband died. Right, in a case where she went overseas with her husband and her son, so she was cheskas not omedes liyibam, and then she said that her son died, and then her husband died. She's trying to make herself available to the yavam, so we're choshim vareh. Right? We wouldn't believe her normally, but we're choshesh that maybe she does want to marry the yavam. Therefore, she's not with teres l'shuk, but she has to do chalitza because there is a suffix she might want to be with the yavam. So therefore, we see in general, women, there is a chance that they actually do want to be with the yavam. The Mishnah recognizes this, and therefore it's chavin la'adam shelo b'fanav, and you can't be mazaka a get for an isha, even to pater from the yavam. Now we're talking about there's no yibum over here. She has children, but you want to go to a third person and give a get to a woman where we know she's in a quarrelsome relationship with her husband. They're getting into fights all the time. It's a schus. She obviously wants to get divorced from the wife, from the husband. Maybe no, even though she's in a fight, she really wants to stay married to the guy because she has the benefit of being together with the guy. Tashma, he says a famous dictum in Chazal, a woman, this is about the psychology of a woman, she'd rather be with two bodies than be by herself, even if the marriage is not, even if it's a contentious marriage and they're getting into fights a lot, she relishes, she'd rather be married just for the physical pleasure of having a husband. Abai Amar, the Shumshana Gavra Kurse Becharsa, a little different aspect of saying this, even if her husband is diminutive stature, he's a very short man, or he's an ugly man, or something like that, because on account of being married, she's able to sit among other married ladies, among the free ladies, the aristocrats, right? Because she's a married lady. This is the way it works in society, definitely in Jewish society. Once you get married, you're married. Who the heck cares who you're married to? You can marry basically someone, a cripple, I don't know, someone who's on his deathbed, but you can say, hey, I'm married. No one has to know who you're married to. Rav Papa Amar the Nafsa Gavra Tikri Besifri Baba. Someone who's, even the husband has a pretty lowly job. He's not even making money. He just spins some thread, right? She'll call him to the doorstep to have him sit with her because it makes a woman look good to have her husband sit next to her, even if the guy, because no one has to know what his job is. Rav Ashi Amar the Kul Sagavra Lobaya Talficha the Kidra. Even if her husband has questionable lineage, right? It could be a mamzer. She'll stay married to the guy and won't even ask him to buy her anything. Even food, lentils for a pot, that she should make food. She'd rather be married and forgo any financial advantage. A woman basically will do anything to be married. Tana, you should know, the Tana says, the Kulam is to tell us about Layid, even though these women will do anything to be married, for all four of these reasons, it gives them a good stature in the eyes of other people, it's physically beneficial for them, it gives them a good reputation or whatever it is, but they're not going to be happy with their husbands. Their husbands all have major deficiencies, and these women are going to end up committing adultery and being with other women, and they're going to say they're going to have a kid with somebody else and say, no, it was my husband who caused me to have a kid. Basically, it's telling you the psychology of a woman. She wants to get married, but if she's not happy with her marriage, she's not going to get out of the marriage. She'll just go cheat on the husband and be with a real man, not her fake husband. That's the conclusion of Hadron Alachisha Shalom. That's the conclusion of the penultimate parak in Pesach Yevamos. Tomorrow will begin in the last parak in Pesach Yevamos. Get ready for the beginning of the end.